Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. It is so good to have this gentleman back in the studio, Todd Tibbits, the president and CEO of the YMCA of San Diego County, the nation's longest, or biggest, I should say. Well, maybe one of the oldest, too, for that matter.
You can just make up your stats as you go along. That's
well,
fine.
When was it formed, YMCA of San Diego County?
The whole movement started in 1844, started in the United States in 1856. And then you're going to test me right live here, Drew. It was we're approaching our 140th year here in San Diego County.
Wow,
that is amazing, and it's the largest YMCA in the country over here. I'm joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary in Liberty Station. They got a big event coming up on October 10th, and I know, Kristen, let's get started.
Let's do it. So just take us generally into the mission of the YMCA. You've given us the dates, give us the mission now.
All right, yeah. So we focus a lot about our mission, our vision, and our values. Mm-hmm. So our mission is to nurture a healthy spirit, mind, and body so all can thrive while honoring our faith-based heritage. Mm-hmm. Our vision is to be the catalyst to transform lives and community. So that's really, as the foundation of everything we do, we try to run it through that filter.
So when you came to San Diego, I can't believe it. You're starting your fourth year. My goodness, you blink and really, what happened the first 3 years, for God's sake? Were you at the YMCA in Charlotte beforehand?
I was. I've been in the Y movement for 33 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And started as a youth director in Lansing, Michigan. And I've referred to it with our staff teams. I try to attend all our onboarding sessions. I'm a youth director who lost my way. And because I still feel like a youth director, that is still a big part of my passion, and never thought that, yes, I was in Charlotte. I was the CEO of the Charlotte, North Carolina YMCA before I came here.
Right. So when you were a kid, did your parents take you to the YMCA?
I grew up in a small area in Michigan. My dad was a camp director.
Okay.
So the quick answer to your question is no. I visited YMCA a few times, but it was not in my community because I grew up in a rural area on Lake Huron as a camp director's son.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. Listen, one of the things that I think the Y has just always been great at, whether it's, the headquarters, so to speak, San Diego County, or all the other Ys that are throughout our county, you guys are always focused on strategy, which is beautiful. You have great strategic plans. You are laser beamed on data and measurement. Talk about your strategic plan.
Mm-hmm. Our strategic plan started about 3 years ago, about 6 months after I got here, coming off of COVID, which was a significant impact on all of us, on all of our communities, and our YMCA was hit pretty hard. Mm-hmm. Right. So we were in a position where we had to furlough a lot of staff. We lost a lot of money, over $20 million during that season. So we knew we had to rebuild, and we knew we were in this position of surviving, but in every aspect of that word. So our strategic plan was called the Drive to Thrive. So how do we get back to this position? And really, it's less about us. It's more about the community. But how do we get to a healthy, stable position so we can better impact the community? As I said, our vision is to be the catalyst to transform lives and community. So to do that, we created the strategic plan, Drive to Thrive, which adds 5 strategic tenets to it. 4 is what we do. 1 is how we do it. What we do is team well-being. We believe as an organization that is based on serving community through our people of about 5,000 team members at the YMCA of San Diego County. If we love on people, they will love on people. So Team well-being became a primary focus, number one. The second one is equitable opportunity. Of the 3.3 million people that live within San Diego County, we want every single one to have equitable opportunity, equitable access to our YMCA. So that became number two. The third one is organizational strength. We recognized we have to be good stewards financially, have the resource to do what we do. So we linked organizational strength to organizational relevance, because we could be doing great community work and going bankrupt, or we could be making money and really not relevant. We've lost our way. So those are the four things of what we do. How we do it is called freedom within the framework. How we show up at our Border View Y in San Ysidro, to one of our Ys in East County, to our Ys in Oceanside and Encinitas and everywhere in between. Communities are different. We need to respond differently in our teams and our advisory boards throughout the entire system, including our camps up in Julian and Imperial Beach. They need the flexibility to show up relevant in their communities, and it might be a little different, but all within the framework based on our mission, our vision, and our values.
So right now, are you in year 3 of the plan, year 5 of the plan? You're doing plan 2.0?
He said 6 months after he got there. So what? It's like 2.5, 3.
We're great question. We're in year 3 of the plan.
Right. And would you say it's pointed in the right direction so far? You're hitting metrics. Where are you? Are you adjusting, as you always do?
Yeah, so we believe in real-time strategic planning. And in essence, you have a strategic plan. You have, and there, I do believe there's a shelf life on strategic plans, and we're still in this one.
Right.
So we probably have a couple years left within this strategic framework. But within that, we also believe in resetting each year. So within those priorities, there's areas where we've evolved and improved, because we have shifted now from a survival position, because while we were losing money, we are not anymore. We're in a very good place. We're now focused on growth. And when we talk about growth, it's growing our reach, our resources, and our impact. So as we serve more people with more resources to invest back into the organization, into our people, with the intention to have a greater impact. So we're in that process of shifting now to a growth mentality to serve more people.
And that's great. We're chatting with Todd Tibbits. He is the president and CEO of the YMCA of San Diego County. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by the amazing people at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things in so many different areas in San Diego County, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. Got a big shindig in Liberty Station on October the 10th. Kristen.
Yeah. So something you said, many things, but one of the things about the strategic plan, I had a question about. So you have 14 branches, right? And so you said there are differences kind of up and down and across the county, which I guess I hadn't thought about before. So can you speak to how some of those branches are different from one another, or have pivoted to meet the needs of those communities?
Sure. And what I would say is, yes, we have 14 branches, which are essentially facilities that you would consider that has a gymnasium, has a swimming pool, the amenities that you might think of a YMCA. We have 3 overnight camps, and we have over 200 other locations that are not in those buildings, where our programs and our outreach is happening in very atypical ways. We have apartment complexes in Escondido serving kids up to age 24 who are housing compromised. So those are all elements of our YMCA that we're trying to do a better job of not just falling into, these are our locations of our 14 branches. We are so proud of those, but we want to make sure it clearly defines who we are, which is over 200 locations throughout the county. And that's our rebranding around community well-being and belonging. So we meet people where they're at. Sometimes it's within our facilities and sometimes outside of those facilities. So to get at your question.
I had no idea about any of that. Yeah. So thank you for clarifying that.
So how we show up, once again, it really is dependent on our partners. I'm going to use Border View as an example, because that was a really difficult one to get back open because of it takes a lot of resources, and we were compromised with all the resources we had available to us. We have a great partnership with the Sweetwater School District there. We're actually on the property of Sweetwater Schools. So when you look at the needs of that community and the partnership with the middle school there, an incredible opportunity, Montgomery Middle School, right adjacent to that YMCA. And so how we show up with our partners right there is instrumental. We need to make sure we have a real focus on the middle school kids and then the greater community. And we were able to partner with PNC and the San Diego Wave recently to reactivate a significant, over $200,000 contribution to reactivate the soccer complex there. So that is a key need there. So you go up to another area or go to the East County, the needs are just sometimes different, but there's this thread of commonality. And so we've created what we call a theory of change. And the theory of change, once again, is for the whole system. And while there might be some nuances of differences of how you show up to meet the needs of the community, provide access to the community, there's these common threads. And one of the common threads that we saw clearly through COVID is mental health and a crisis in mental health, especially with youth. And so we've developed this theory of change, and I don't care what the zip code is, kids are struggling with mental health issues. And so we've developed a program called, it's not a program, it's an approach called Positive Youth Development, that we're working with foundations and investing in longitudinal research that will demonstrate that YMCA programs, no matter where you're at, and it can be a swim lesson, it can be a youth sports program, because of how we deliver those programs. It is about fundamental development and skills, but it's also about social, emotional, and mental well-being. And we're infusing that in every single one of our programs, our after-school programs, our overnight camps, and it's how we're training our staff and our volunteers. Because there can't be enough clinical therapists that will solve the clinical mental health crisis we have. Incredible need within that scope, but we want to get upstream. And so that's part. So what we're trying to do is find the threads that unite us commonly and approach it uniquely in each market.
You know, you're so spot on. Chris and I talk about this pretty much every single week. There is somewhere always in almost every interview about mental health. Yeah. We're having a return appearance by our friends from the Palomar Family, counseling service.
Oh, good. And
they're coming back on in a couple of weeks. And of course, you hit the nail on the head. There is an unbelievable shortage of mental health, folks to work with the schools. And you talked about the youth shortage of 10,000 people, and maybe even bigger than that. So phenomenal for the YMCA in addressing it. This is a crisis. It is a huge crisis, and I'm glad you folks are addressing it. Talk a little bit about your rebranding efforts. What does that look like?
It goes to one of my earlier comments. We're really proud of what we do around our YMCA quote-unquote branches.
Right.
Our gym, where we have our gyms and our pools, our traditional programs, what many people think of at the Y. But what we know, what we do, that is a piece of what we do, really important piece, but it doesn't totally define who we are.
Right.
So, and who we aspire to be. So, once again, it doesn't define who we are completely, but it's also about the aspiration of who we want to be, and that is about community well-being and belonging. So when you think about back to our mission, to nurture a healthy spirit, mind, and body so all can thrive, that essence of that. So our goal, as we show up, once again, freedom within the framework, is to meet each individual on their well-being journey. So that's that's talking about the basic needs, the social determinants of health, going after that as an organization that's committed to for all, equitable opportunity in our community. So as we rebrand, that's what we want to be known for. An amenity is a gym and a pool and a fitness center and a climbing wall at camp or riding a horse. Those are amenities. But what we want to be about are not the amenities, but about the essence of an individual's well-being and feeling like they belong.
Todd, when we come back from break, I want to, chat a little bit more about that aspect of it. Something you folks are always laser beamed on. But, for those families that cannot afford necessarily to take care of your services, you have very vast and far-reaching scholarship programs. Maybe you can address that as well for those who do that. And then, one of the things I think that's great about what you do, and you just talked about some of those, outreach and all that with well-being in this, is if you were to think about this, you've been involved with the Y for 30 years over your career, you're starting your 4th year here in San Diego. What thing would you say that, boy, if I could really get this message out? You talked about the well-being and all this business, but, there seems to be some disconnect about what the Y really does. Think about what that message would be to the constituents that we're talking to when we return with Todd Tibbits, President and CEO of the YMCA of San Diego County. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We're broadcasting in these really cool Mission Fed studios in Scripps Ranch. One of my co-hosts, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Riders, Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things in San Diego County. Honored to have in the studio with us today a return appearance by Todd Tibbits, President and CEO of the YMCA of San Diego County, joined by my colleague Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Riders, Inc. Before I turn it over to Kristen, talk about opportunities for folks that maybe can't afford to do some of the YMCA experiences.
So as we've talked about with our strategic plan, and this is not new, we just framed it this way in this plan, equitable opportunity. What we want to make sure is we're providing pathways of access for individuals to have a YMCA experience. And it's less about having a YMCA experience, it's having access to areas where their well-being needs can be met. So that's what we're really focused on. And we've had an annual campaign at our YMCA for years, very successful. And what we can say over the last 2 years, each of the last 2 years, we've raised the most we ever have in the history of our Y. So what that means in this past year was we raised $8.4 million to provide access and experiences for those that need support. And that's one. We also have a tremendous partnership and relationship with a number of government entities. And that's where a lot of our social services, through those relationships, those partnerships and relationships are well over $200 million in contracts that we provide, mostly focused on youth. Youth that are housing compromised, that need support, of working with the LGBTQ community. Where those staff stand in the gap and bridge, give these kids opportunities. So when we talk about ways we provide access, our annual campaign is second to none in this country. And every dollar that none of that goes towards our administrative support. That goes truly towards serving our community. And then also the partnerships we have with our government contracts is significant to what we can do.
Yeah, I know you guys reach out to so many folks. Kristen?
I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start.
Start somewhere.
I know. Thank you. Thanks for the tip. I'm wondering if you talk a little bit about how you provide and roll out leadership development for individuals.
For our staff?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great. We actually just relaunched that about a year ago. We have a whole training academy
Cool.
where we take staff through that. And one of the things I haven't touched on, I talked about our mission, our vision. We also have organizational values: authenticity, belonging, integrity, and innovation. So one of the things that we've tied into our leadership development and in this training academy we've developed is really focused on innovation. We just had an event this past spring. We had our first innovation summit, and it's almost like a Shark Tank experience where leaders from throughout the system. Once again, we have about 5,000 employees. About 20% of that is full time. So we're a lot of first jobs for kids in our community. But then we have about 20%. So you do 20% of 5,000. You can do the math over.
Well, I can't do the math, but
over 1,000, over 1,000 full-time people. So so how we train and build into our team members is very different. So it starts with onboarding around our mission, our vision, and values. We're tracking this year when we're talking about community well-being and belonging. We're doing external brand auditing. Do we have brand integrity around that? Are we who we say we are according to the community? And do our mission, vision, and values, the actions of our team members, model our branding of community well-being and belonging? Remember, I said team well-being is one of our first priorities of our strategic plan. So investing into our team and leadership development is one of those key areas. We also do Gallup surveys of around employee engagement. And the two things that typically come up in a Gallup research from employees are, I know it's expected of me and I have the resources to do my job. So you're hitting on a key one that in fact, I'm leaving this podcast today, and we have a small group that we're gathering. Today's the first meeting around our internal culture, and team development is a key piece of that. So it's a cross-sectional group that we're just kicking that group off today.
Very cool.
The reason why I gave you the double thumbs up on the internal culture on this, and I might have mentioned this before, I'm not sure, Kristen, if you heard me say it. When I worked for the San Diego Union Tribune, running community and public relations for 20 plus years, we had a culture issue, an internal culture issue, and we had a new CEO that came in about a month after me, just happened to be, happenstance. And he changed the culture, and he was very serious about changing the culture, because how can we grow our business if we don't have a culture that wants to work together? And it was brilliant what he did, and he stayed with it. So I'm so happy to see that's going on. A lot of people talk about internal culture, and then they don't walk the talk, and then it goes straight down, in that area of it. Todd, talk a little bit about, here it is. You've been here. You're starting year 4. Hopefully, you're going to be here for another 4, maybe 44 years. Who know? You're a young guy in this aspect. Where do you see the YMCA of San Diego County, let's say, in 5 years from now?
So, as you said, we're a large YMCA.
Right.
So, where I hope we are in 4 or 5 years is we are a beacon. We're a model of a YMCA who has truly landed around community well-being and belonging, where we're providing a model. We're actually partnering with a few other Ys throughout the country right now of how we can leverage what we're doing, how we're building this community well-being model. So the quick answer is I want to be that model in our country that people are looking to about how to connect with community, how to provide access with community. It might have the notion of membership attached to it. You're a member of the Ys who have access.
Right.
But it could be a whole different model that isn't predicated on membership.
Right. You mentioned about your work with Sweetwater Union High School District. You may or may not know I'm involved with the Classroom of the Future Foundation. Kristen knows this as well. And we work with all of the 43 school districts. We consider the County Office of Education one of the districts, and one of our good friends is Moises Aguirre, who is the superintendent. I know you're smiling on this. Just a great guy, and so forth, in this aspect of it. What other are you working with all the districts around the county, pretty much?
Yeah, the majority of the districts. So you mentioned 43. Well, there's 43 schools we're in Chula Vista. The Chula Vista district, we're in all of their schools. We're in the Escondido. We're in 13 of the Escondido schools. So you start going throughout the county. Yeah, whether there's all sorts of school partnerships we have.
Right, exactly. Somewhere down the road offline, we need to make a connection with you in Classroom of the Future, because we work with all those as superintendents, of course, just doing great things. Kristen, are you a YMCA? Have you, does Declan go to the YMCA?
Yeah, he just finished a swim thing there not too long ago at the Davis YMCA. That's near us. Yeah, and we were members at the Rancho YMCA.
Now, did you go as a kid?
No, I grew up in Lancaster, Palmdale. I don't think there was a YMCA to be had up there, at least at the time. So we would have if that was available. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the connections, you talked about the partnerships. You mentioned, PNC, of course, and working with the school districts and these, the contracts you have. I mean, I don't know if there's not somebody you don't touch base with, Todd. You're very visible in the community, and I really appreciate that as well. As Kristen and I always save time at the second half of the interview, what can our listeners do to continue to support just amazing work you're doing?
Thank you for the question. The standard answers for a nonprofit leader definitely are join the organization, support what we do. $8.4 million sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. It is scratching the surface of providing the need in this area of what we can do. Every cent of that we can spend more than once. So continue to support the YMCA financially. Visit our website, YMCA.
It's a great website, by the way.
.org.
Yeah.
Participate. Let us be part of your well-being journey. So that's a real distinction as we talk about community well-being and belonging. We don't want to become prescriptive and say, here's the suite of services Y provides, choose. We want to meet people on their journey. It's a personalized journey. Well-being means something different to different people. So let us be part of your well-being journey.
I'd love to have, obviously, we love to have you as a frequent guest. There's always great content you share, Todd. How about the next time you come in, maybe bring a family in that has benefited from what you've done, maybe underrepresented family that you've given, here are these opportunities that this family has had. I'm sure you've got like 500 you could give a call to right now.
Yeah, I would love to do that. We just finished summer, right?
Yeah.
Between our day camp programs and our overnight camp programs, that represents over 40,000 weeks of camp that just happened. Right. And what we talk about, so that's a lot of numbers. We talk about 8.4 million. We talk about all sorts of numbers. Yeah. There's a story behind every single number.
Right.
So I would love to dig into one of those stories with you.
Consider that a done deal.
Okay.
A done deal. We'll go ahead and send that out as soon as possible. Kristen, any final comments?
I'm just sitting here searching. I was like, did we really not have a YMCA growing up? So I'm going to look at that once I get internet again, because I need to know the answer now. But thanks for all the great work that you do. I mean, I don't think there's someone in San Diego County that has not had a touch point with the YMCA. So thank you.
Thank you.
It comes from a lot of hard work. We're going to look forward to having you come back in down the road with the family that has benefited. That will not be hard for you to choose one of those. Todd, always good seeing you. Wishing you nothing but great success moving forward. I look forward to seeing you back in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Todd Tibbits, he's the president and CEO of the YMCA of San Diego County. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast. We are now in our 18th year, brought to you by the unbelievable people at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, continuing to do great things in so many different areas: food insecurity, literacy, art, kids, students, adults, you name it, they're involved in it. Kristen Fogel, as always, thank you for being a great co-host. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.